running and being chased by this very thin guy.
Right.
So yeah. So sometimes I'm sleeping and this song is in my head, the beats, and it's
Oh
it's also a
no.
beautiful sound, by the way.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
it is a
yeah.
great tune. It's a very catchy tune there. Chigozie Obioma. Listen, we're so excited that you've made
Yeah,
it.
finally,
You've
yeah.
made it here. Now, for those of you uninitiated, Chigozie Obioma is a celebrated African writer from Nigeria. And he's actually been nominated for the Booker Prize twice already. Now, the Booker Prize, let me tell you what it is. This is a prize for books that are published in English in the UK or Ireland. Once upon a time, it was only available to sort of Commonwealth citizens and so forth. But now they've opened it up. Wherever you're from, if you publish in the UK or Ireland, you are eligible. And it's a very, very difficult prize to be shortlisted for. You've been nominated twice. That's crazy. That's crazy. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And of course, Chigozie writes stories that are inherently African in their DNA, but he's able to give them a very global appeal, which is obviously what has caught the attention of the judges twice in a row. And you are a judge now, right?
No, I was last year.
You
yeah.
were last year.
It was one of the most surreal things I've ever done. So we read 170 books.
Whoa.
Yeah, and these were self-selected. So there's about probably 10,000 books of fiction that are published in a year in those countries that you just mentioned, and so the publishers self-select. They send books they think can have a chance, and from that we got about 170. So and we read this within 7 months. So it was a book a day, basically.
Jeez.
Yeah. So finally we selected. Damon Galgut, who is a South African writer. He won last year
That's nice.
for his novel The Promise. So that was, but it was a challenge to read a book a day, because sometimes the books are as big as
thick
this.
as yours, right?
And I read
Yeah.
that you contemplated quitting at
Oh
some point.
yeah, no. There was a one time when I hadn't read a book for like 2 days because I was doing other things, and all of that. And I was like, now I have to like catch up, and I didn't know how it was going to happen, yeah, but I managed in the end.
Goodness me. What it must have taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe this is a great place to start. I was going to start asking you about whether this is your first trip to Ghana
It
and all that.
is. He was
Yeah.
counting down. I was following him
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
Facebook.
No, I was, yeah.
Oh,
I was,
nice,
yeah.
nice. So have you tried fufu and all of those things?
I have. What was that thing that we ate last night? Kekiga.
Kenke.
Kenke. Okay.
Kenkiga.
Ga kenke.
Ga Kenke.
Ga kenke. Yeah,
All
that's
right,
right.
all
Yeah.
right,
So,
all right, okay.
so I loved it, and now I call home and I say to people, I don't understand when you say welcome. It doesn't mean anything. The only term for welcome is akwaba. That is it.
Yay.
So from now on,
You
that's
got
what
one.
you'll be
That's
saying.
the only thing I'm going to say. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. The thing about Africa, I guess, is not just Ghana. Everything is poetic.
Yes.
Which is why Akwaba sounds better than welcome, right? So it makes me wonder why African literature isn't more prominent around the world. For someone who's been where you've been, what do you think explains that?
Actually, it is ascendant. It is coming up. Honestly, if you go to spaces, literary festivals across the world, I've been privileged enough to have gone to probably all of them. You will see African writers represented now. I think that there was a preliminary stage, the first phase, which was in the 50s, 60s, with our Achebe, Ngugi, Ayekweyama, and all the rest of them, fighting for independence and all of that, writing about that. And then there was a pause in the 80s. And then in the 90s, the second generation, as I say, it picked up a little bit. But it didn't really make a mark, that much of a mark. But now, since the 2000s, heralded by Adichie and some other people, we are there. I think it's coming up. But that said, Nigeria is overrepresented. We have some dual citizen Ghanaians, for instance. I've been telling people I think that the greatest black writer, female writer right now, is S.C. Edigan. I can't say the name very well.
Can you spell it?
She's Canadian but
Right.
with Ghanaian origin.
origins.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's been shortlisted for the Booker Prize twice too.
Nice.
Yes,
Okay.
and she wrote a book called Washington Black. So her name is Essie
Edujan.
Edugjan.
Edujan.
Edugjan, yeah,
Okay.
that's how to say. So
Okay.
folks like that are well known. But we're again, part of the reason is the production of works is limited because of poverty. So have you ever heard of a great film or a great literature from Chad or Gabon or Congo? So this poverty that we have, this lack of opportunities actually disenfranchises people, because when you're living in subsistence level, every other thing becomes luxury. Even reading, like if you don't have food to eat tomorrow, I mean, so you go and take up a book or say you're going to cinema. No, you're living every moment of your life in almost a primal level.
Yeah.
So that is one of the setback. So what the trend then is that some of us who break through have to live abroad. Edian, for instance, if you were to mention all of the known celebrated Ghanaian writers now, not a single one of them lives here. Yeah, Giassi of Homecoming, for instance. There's a guy who is blowing up now. His name is Kwame Brenya. All of them live in the US. In fact, I have an event with him next year too, because he has a book coming out. I'm going to help him promote it. So this is what is happening, I think. They are out there, but some of them don't even claim to be like Essie, I think, often will call herself a
Canadian novelist.
a Canadian novelist. But her dad was from Ghana.
I see. Let me ask you this. Maybe it's only my perspective, but do African writers get a little bit typecast? Are you all expected to write a story about an ethnic experience and some tradition connected thing, from the days of Chinua Achebe all the way to today's modern African writers? You don't tend to see them write thrillers love stories and that sort of thing. Are you a bit typecast? Is this what is expected of you?
So indeed there are expectations. It used to be that the good savage was the trope at one point. Remember, we were seen and we were colonized because people believed in the civilizing project, So these black people who all just dance and then procreate, have nothing, there's no sophisticated anything. But then stories that were told were reacting to that, at that time. But I think there's always been a critical mass of writers who just look at the society and what is at stake here and are writing about it. So The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born was a defining novel for me. But that novel was looking at the state of corruption in Ghana. And I think in some ways it had a revolutionary impact because, Ghana is much less, it has problems, less corrupt than Nigeria by far, at least institutionally wise. So I think that there are people writing that, but also, in fact, the trend now is because people are no longer really interested in Africa. To tell you the truth, my conclusion is that nobody really cares about Africa. So in the global space, I mean, like if you look at, for instance, how people have treated the war in Ukraine.
Right.
Compare that to all kinds of conflicts that are
Say
happening.
Mali.
In Mali, not a single person even knows that is happening. In Eritrea, and Ethiopia. All of that are happening.
Burkina Faso, just
Burkina
next
Faso,
door.
you could say, okay, there's a chilling effect because the world has become used to conflicts here. But these are human events that should be, but there's a single war that breaks out in Europe and is a generational, like, it's a blockbuster thing. So because of that, I think the trend is that African writers are now writing about other places. Look at the great books that have been celebrated by, of African literature in the past few years. Most of them are set elsewhere. They are either set in America or even Homecoming by Giasse. One of the reasons why I think she's a great writer, but it's an American book. It just has, the relatives visit Ghana and all of that, but it's US based, so who is actually going to be telling, as you said, stories of what is happening here? There are a lot of events here that need to be told, like all the coups that happened in the 70s and 80s. Have they been dramatized in fiction? Have they been documented? These are things that I feel are missing.
But isn't it also because it's difficult to get a publisher? Your own experience, it's not been easy. You couldn't get a single person to publish.
Exactly. So that's why. So I think that if there's anything I would tell people, and what I encourage, often tell upcoming African writers is, look, yes, there will be temptation to go with the flow, with the fad, but I have insisted that I want to tell until we've exhausted African stories, stories that mean things to people, like an occasional minorities. Okay, so I looked at, I read Paradise Lost by John Milton,
Yeah.
which is a cosmological novel that documents the Judeo-Christian idea of heaven and hell and the fall of man. And I was moved by that. I'm like, okay, look at all of African literature. Look at just the cosmologies, the religions that we have.
Yeah.
Just the Yoruba religion itself is just as complex as Hindu or Christianity, in terms of its pantheon and all of that. No cosmological novel. And I took it upon myself to write one. So the Chi spirit, in my name, Chinoa, Chigozie, Chinonso. So we believe in this spirit that ensouls every individual that comes into the world. And that is what I wrote. So this novel is about the Igbo religion. It is narrated by a spirit. So when my agents and all of that, they were like, man, we're going to publish it because you want us to. It might not make money, but fine. So I took the risk. At the end of the day, I got nominated for the Booker Prize.
Right, and
nobody would have read it without that. I
Indeed.
know that because it wasn't going to be commercially successful. Even Africans are not interested in their own religion, not to talk of other people.
But this is my favorite of your books.
Thank
I mean, what an angle to tell a story from. And I do like this idea of the chi. It's kind of like every person has this companion spirit, right? That's what this Igbo religious tenet is.
Yes.
That every person has this companion spirit. Okay, so as you are walking around through life, there's this spirit. In this case, a spirit that has lived for thousands of years. That is your companion, is observing everything that's happening to you. So that's the spirit telling the story. And it's fascinating. But again, I noticed that you took the story out of Africa. You went off to Cyprus, and then there was the idea of corruption and, a disappointed, innocent person trying to better himself, and the constant disappointment that he was experiencing. Is that in some way a commentary of the African life? Is that something you wanted to illustrate?
So even though we should tell stories that are set in Africa and all of that, sometimes our lives also go in different parts. For instance, I lived in Cyprus a little bit, and I saw there, like, there are a lot of Nigerians, there are a lot of Ghanaian students. Even I remember a lot of Ghanaians who are coming there. So we are increasingly leaving Africa for greener pastures. And I wanted to tell the story of this guy who gives up everything for the sake of the woman he loves. But I wanted to tell the story not just through, like, the traditional first person or third person point of view, but I wanted to give it this very, very traditional, like African way of storytelling that we have lost. So a kind of monumentalization, because so by also chronicling what, just in fact teaching people what this worldview is like. So what is a chi, and what does it mean to have one, and what happens in fact. So in the novel I reconstruct the process of ascension into the afterlife, which is something that we really do not have a document on in the Igbo religion. So if you ask, and even the shrine priest, what does the afterlife look like when people die? What happens? They don't know. So I had to like do a lot of research, even visit some shrines,
Interesting.
yeah, and ask people, and then I have reconstructed what I think, the afterlife space looks like in the worldview. And I think somebody should do that for the wonderful, Ashanti, history. I read somewhere a long time ago about a place here in Ghana where people go to the crocodiles. Are not they are not afraid of crocodiles.
Oh, okay. That would be in Paga.
Yeah, Paga, that's right. Yeah, so there are stuff like that I feel like they are fascinating. They might soon go away. They will be swept away by the tide of modernity. How do you document it so that children from 2 generations from now can read this and say, okay, this was what Ghana used to be like? Just lasting on that note, the Biafran War is my next project. So I've just finished that. And that war is significant because it is the most disastrous war in the history of Africa, but even one of the most disastrous in the history of the world. So historians believe that more small weapons were used in that war than all of the Second World War combined. So imagine the magnitude of the Second World War. All of the European powers were involved, including America. So small arms fire like rifles, grenades, were used in Biafra. The human cost, 1.5 million people. And nobody, like, okay, so people have written wartime novels. That is Half of a Love Song by Chimamanda Adichie, for instance, chronicles what people experience, civilians and all that. What of the war novels about the people the men and women who sat in the trench? What did it mean to be held up in a foxhole for 36 hours under shelling? You need to tell those stories, because right now there are some youths who are agitating for Nigeria to break up, for another war. They don't know what it means. You see what I'm saying? So I've just written a novel that will be, I think, the definitive war novel of that war. Look at just Vietnam has probably 200 major novels and films, not to talk of the Second World War. So those are things that I think we should be documenting through fiction. And that is, if there's anything that I feel called to do, I like to joke that I like to do the dirty work of African literature.
And that's your calling.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Listen, that's the beauty of imagination, because it gives us access to things that we cannot touch, cannot reach. And, something that may have been relegated to history forever, you are able to bring back to life through the power of your imagination. That is so moving. And I'm so excited that we've got the chance to meet you.
Thank you very much.
I can't wait for your talk, which is later today.
Yes.
At ISE. And I'm particularly interested because I love to write and I want to know if I can make money from it. So I'll be paying attention, rapt attention to your speech.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Chigozie Obioma.
Did I promise our listeners that we're going to get some tips?
Should we get should we spend a minute? Give us a few tips on how to make money from writing.
Okay, wonderful. So number one, don't write just because you've heard that you can make money from it, because you will be disappointed. Number two, once you want to do it, know that there will be blocks, roadblocks, and obstructions. Persevere. And read a lot. Read a lot. You will internalize the structures and all the things that you need, they're in the books, they've been written. And number 4, once you read, be humble enough to find a community of writers who you can share your work with.
Right.
So, and that's what I will tell anyone. And once you've done all of that and you have your piece ready, I think that it's easier today with the internet. Just go online and look for, if you have a novel, let's say, look for an agent who will be interested, or reach out. People reach out to me all the time, or to writers you admire, and sometimes we help lift other people.
That's amazing. I'm so excited. Chigozie Obioma.
Kojo, you know what I'm waiting for?
Tell me.
How he would reflect on his visit to Ghana and say how we represented, because he says that every country that he goes to, there's a certain expectation. So I'm waiting for the Ghana experience and the
I will talk
expectation.
about that in the evening. So all of you come. Let the hall be filled so that there will be no space, and we will have to start sending people out.
That's right. If you ever wanted to know what Chigozie thinks about Gankinki, this evening is when you find out. Chigozie Obioma, 2-time Booker Prize nominated author of The Fisherman and An Orchestra of Minorities, and I certainly can't wait for his war novel, which is coming out next, about the Biafran War. We're so glad you could join us. We're very grateful. It's the Super Morning Show. There's so much more to come. Stay exactly where you are. When we come back, the man says the special prosecutor is a small boy. All right. More after these.